Hi, my name is Shiv Khera and I bring to you the SpeakIn Asia Dialogues. Today's episode talks to none other than Shiv Khera, a man who has sold 15 million books worldwide on leadership, people, persuasion, negotiation, sales, and more. Today we talk to him about how he changed his life from washing cars to selling insurance and to becoming a man today, which millions of people look up to and look at him for inspiration, leadership, and more. This is an episode that you would want to save and keep in your repertoire as you learn, unlearn, and then find some more in the journey forward. Here is a surprise for you. At the end of this episode, this is not an ordinary episode because you're not just going to watch him speak, but at the end of the episode, you're actually going to get an opportunity to talk to him one-on-one. And that is something that we will leave you with at the Speak and Find a Coach, where you talk to mentors and coaches and learn from them for your problems, for your solutions, for your context. So use this opportunity, click on the link below and talk to Mr. Khera about you. Thank you so much for this opportunity today. So I don't think, I had, when I started speaking, I don't think I wished, but I don't think I for once thought that I would get to this stage where I'll get to sit right next to you, the legend, who defines motivation.
Well, I'm grateful that you feel that way. I'm honored. In fact, I feel privileged that you feel that way. I'm grateful to you.
There hasn't been, I think, a day that went by without a mention of you in the household that I was brought up in. My father has been a very an ardent self-help book fan, and the journey that you created, I think you defined motivation, inspiration, and aspiration for India, and not just India, but I think Indians globally, which is now creating more and more impact the world over. So let me start with the very first question. Aapka journey kaisa tha? How did it start? I mean, there's a lot of chatter about, you did all kinds of things. You dropped out of college, you dropped out of school in Canada and US. Decode that for us.
Well, I wasn't a bright student to begin with. I was a backbencher topping the front benchers. In my 8th grade, out of 6 or 7 subjects, I failed in all except one. So my principal called me and said, putting too much attention on one subject. Out of 28 kids, I was number 27 because the 28 was absent. And finally, in the 10th grade, I had to repeat my class. But it was higher secondary in those days. When we got into the 11th, at that point, I was more into sports than anything else. But realizing my mother really said, look, it's my respect that if you go through the way you are going, it's going to degrade the whole family. And that touched me. That really touched me. In my 11th grade, finally, I studied at the last minute, and there were only 3 people who got a first division, and I was one of them. But imagine a year before, I repeated my class. Right there after that, there were only 3 first division, I was one of them. But what does it tell me? Wherever you put your mind, that's where you are. I used to jump off the wall. I used to go play polo at the present bodyguard. I got into martial art. And that's what life is all about. I've been a fighter all my life. There were people I used to fight through. They used to club in together, 10 people. They used to beat me, 10 people beat me. Then one by one, I used to catch each one and beat them. This is how my life has been. But, and that's the good part. You have to be a fighter. And remember one thing. Fight is nature's law. Fight is nature's law. Just like a farmer, when they plant good seeds, weeds they don't have to plant, they just keep coming. But to have a good garden, they must plant good seeds. But after they plant good seeds, there's a whole army of insects and weeds ready to destroy his hard work. Now the farmer has a choice. Either get destroyed or destroy them. He's going to fight. Both cannot live together. So he destroys them. That means what? fight is nature's law. Again, look at it. In our body, we have white cells, yellow and red cells. What is the function of the white cells? Fight infection. See, right now, every day our body releases millions of cancerous cells and millions of immunity cells. They fight. Whichever win prevails. If cancer cells are stronger, we die. If immunity cells are stronger, we will. We live a happy life. So bottom line is, if you want to live in peace, be prepared to fight. Now, fight alone doesn't do the job. If we have to fight, which we must, then we must fight to win. And in order to win, we must be strong. So my next book that is coming out, it is saying, to succeed in life, we must be strong in 6 areas. 1, physical. 2, mental. 3, emotional. 4, relationship strength. 5, financial strength. And 6, spiritual strength. Anyone is missing, we are in deep trouble. Why is physical strength important? But that gives us stamina, sustenance, energy. And physical strength influences our decision-making ability. You notice one thing, when we are unwell and when we are not physically strong, the kind of decisions we end up making in life, we would probably never make such decisions when we are physically strong. Go even in the hospital. They always have a strong person looking after the weak. A weak cannot look after the weak. So you have to develop that strength. Physical strength is important. 2, mental strength. Have you noticed there are some people, no matter what they do, they succeed. They always succeed. Why? They are mentally strong. Look at people, legends like Bruce Lee. He has one leg shorter than the other. His eyesight was -10. Yet, what he did. Now, was he an exception? Probably not. Michael Phelps, 2 years before the Olympics, he had a fracture in his hand. And same thing, Steve Jobs. Go look at all these people. See, they all had problems. Now, why I bring such names here? They all had problems. See, when we hear and see real life stories of real people who have turned a negative into a positive, it forces us to redefine the word success. Means what? Success is not absence of problems, it is overcoming problems. Success is not defined by how high we go up in life, but how many times we bounce back when we fall down. That is success. Now, let me connect this with my life. I come from a business family. We had coal mines, close to 1,000 people working. I didn't create them, I inherited them. And the government took over, the mines were nationalized. We came on the street. I tried my hands on 3 businesses with no money, and I failed in all 3. Finally, November 13, 1975, I left India, initially went to Toronto and started life with a bucket in my hand, washing cars door to door. For about a year and a half, I was doing that. And totally by accident, I got into selling life insurance. And I'm so glad that happened that way, because that was the best thing that ever happened to me in my life. Why? See, you deal with so many people at every level. But I learned one thing. Selling life insurance is one of the toughest things to sell in this world. Selling clothes, house, car, anything is a lot easier. You know why? Because you can touch and feel and touch and feel and touch and feel. But this is a concept. You see, we keep talking, something will happen and then this will happen, and I wonder what's going to happen. I used to make 15 appointments to make one sale. That means 14 times I was rejected. But you know something? Gradually, as you understand selling how it is, then I used to make 10 appointments to make one sale. Then I used to make 5 appointments to make one sale. And gradually it started moving. But within the first 3 months when I joined selling life insurance, my manager called me to fire me for non-performance. And I said to him, Joe, wait a minute. I'm not an educated person. I'm not a doctor, engineer, attorney, accountant. I'm a BCom 30 failed my 10th. That's my academics. How do you expect performance out of me? The moment I said that, Deepshika, that day, somebody spoke very harshly to me, and I'm glad he did. And later on, I realized it was not anger, it was concern. And he said to me, "You shut up and listen to me." By the way, he didn't talk this politely. He shouted at me. And he said, "You don't have a handicap, you have a bad attitude." And he said, "It is people like you who not only ruin their own lives, but they also ruin their family's life too." And then he said, "Do you know who has a handicap in life?" He said, "The doctor, engineer, attorney, accountant, they all have handicaps." I said, "Boy, I never heard that one. How do they have handicaps?" He said, "Go check out all over the world. It is generally true, exceptions different. They all have chosen their field, they're stuck. Generally true." And he said to me, "You haven't chosen your field, don't you see the world is open to you?" I said, "Joe, I never thought from that point of view." He said, "Now that you're fired," he said, "you got all the time with him, and leave my office." I left his office 47 years ago that day. That evening, there was a program by Dr. Norman Vincent Peale, the man who wrote the book Power Positive Thinking. I attended the program. Dr. Peale looked at all of us and he said, "You people appear so cool, calm, comfortable. It appears nobody has a problem here. Does anybody have a problem now? Who doesn't?" So everybody raised their hand. And then Dr. Peale said, "How many people would like to get rid of their problem?" Again, everybody raised their hand. Then Dr. Peale said, "While I was coming here, 2 blocks away from here, I saw there were some people lying down, all comfortable, totally relaxed. They had no problem whatsoever. How many people would like to know where that place is?" Again, everybody raised their hand. Then Dr. Peale said, 2 blocks away from here, there's a cemetery. There are people lying there, all comfortable, totally relaxed, they have no problem. Then he asked, how many people would like to get rid of their problem? Nobody raised their hand, everybody put their hand in their pocket. That day, Dr. Peale gave a prayer, and he said, "God grant me the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change, and courage to change the things that I can, and wisdom to know the difference what I can and what I cannot." Now this prayer, the way I see it, is the gist of life. If you analyze, God grant me the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change. Now the question is, can we change everything in this world to suit ourselves? Answer is no. Can we mold and manipulate everything to suit ourselves? Answer is no. There are many things beyond, such as, I didn't choose my parents, neither did you. I didn't decide I was going to be born, neither did you. If this is my height, the color of my skin, there's nothing I can do. And granted, sometimes people are born deformed, and sometimes bad things do happen to good people for no fault of their own. What wrong did they do? Who knows? So it says, what I cannot change, let me accept it graciously, not grudgingly. Why? Because many times in life, people keep fighting the things they just cannot change. And they bring stress into their lives. They become paralyzed and they become totally unproductive. So it says, what I cannot change, let me accept it graciously, not grudgingly. And 2, if I can change, then give me the courage to do it. And 3rd, wisdom to know the difference what I can and what I cannot. Now, when I wrote my book, You Can Achieve More, and including another one, Live While You're Alive, I took this thought 2 steps forward. And I wrote in my book that life is full of choices and life is full of compromises. Seems like a contradiction, but not really. If I ill-treat you, I've chosen to be ill-treated, haven't I? If I treat you with discourtesy, I've chosen to be treated with discourtesy, haven't I? If I light up a cigarette, I've chosen to invite cancer, haven't I? If I exercise every day, I've chosen to invite good health, haven't I? If I drink and drive, I've chosen to invite an accident, haven't I? And if I tell lies, I have chosen to lose my credibility, haven't I? Look at this. Life is full of choices. See, we are all free to the point of choice. But after we make our choices, The choice controls the chooser. We have no more choice. It's all over. Many times people ask me, Mr. Khera, people who are successful, don't they make mistakes? And people who fail, don't they do positive things in life? And my answer is that people who succeed, they do make mistakes. But remember one thing, making a mistake once in a while does not bring failure. Repeating the same mistake again and again is what brings failure. And similarly, doing something positive once in a while does not bring success either. Repeating the same positive behavior again and again is what brings success. This is crucial. Now, Deepshika, after I went through Dr. P's program, I went back to my manager and I said, Joe, give me one more shot. Don't fire me. I make one commitment to you. I will not let you down because of my effort. Because if you fire me today, I don't know where to go. And the only place I know where to go is go back to washing cars. And I said, I don't want to do that anymore. I have a little family, I have a little daughter. Let me stay. Just pull those papers back. And he looked at me and he says, Shiv, that's not your small one, that's your big one. He said, I'll let you stay here only if you make a commitment not to me, but to yourself. And that day I made a commitment. And that was one of the turning points in my life. And don't we all have some turning points? And he would do the papers that day. And that year I went ahead, sold over $1 million. Next year, 3 million. Year after, 5 million. Moved on to the US, got to 3 businesses. And I bought out a company out of California in 1984, started the New Jersey operation with no clients, and I sold my company with close to 500 clients for a decent sum. Now, why do I share my life with you? For a few reasons. One, I kept failing all my life and kept blaming the whole world for my failure, not realizing that I was my own biggest problem. And through you, I asked the whole world in my program, aren't we our own biggest problem? Nothing changed outside, something changed inside, and the direction of my life changed. And second thing I learned, when my manager said to me, you shut up and listen to me, that taught me one major lesson. And that is that sometimes in life, you got to be unkind to be kind. Leadership is not a popularity contest. Parenting is not a popularity contest. Sometimes in life, you got to be unkind to be kind. And the third lesson I learned was, I was on 100% commission. Now, I wouldn't get paid if I didn't sell, and I had no money. But you see, I saw there were some people who were getting salaries, but they were not doing their job. That's the time, about 47 years ago, I learned the difference between making money versus earning money. Making money is criminal, earning money is spiritual. What's the difference? The difference is, when you earn money, you put your energy and ethics behind it. And why do I stress on this point, Deepshika? It is very crucial because this pertains to the current environment, current generation, and current scenario that is going on, including what is coming to AI and automation. See, there was a survey done in the US, Gallup, said 63% of people who go to work, they're disengaged. Means they don't do their job. And additional 24% are actively disengaged. Means they don't let others do their job either. Now that leaves only 13% of people who go to work, actually work. It's a big time integrity issue. And sadly today, people want to make money. They don't want to earn it. So only 13% of people are working. So if automation comes in, so what? They're not working anyway. So what will happen? Another example, the same survey said, with social media the way it is today, when people go to work, they spend 2, 3, and sometimes even 4 hours on the personal social media during working hours. During working hours! Is that what we're getting paid for? This is not an integrity issue. My question to you is, if I take your wallet right now, I steal your wallet, what do you call me? A thief. When people do all these things, what are they? Thieves. We need to get our basics right. I repeat, we need to get our basics right. A great coach once said, if you want to do well anything in this world, get your basics right.
I think what you mentioned, about the ethics and you talked about different aspects of work, future of work, and current work culture, and more. There is a sudden proliferation of inspiration out there. I don't think that we can even count the number of podcasts and conversations that are happening right now, which claim to inspire you, right? And while some of them are doing some fantastic job as well. But do you think there is, so two questions there. One question is about the change in the entire generation, the transition that we as human beings are seeing. Is there a trust gap between today and yesterday? I mean, for example, we keep saying that, our kids are this, you're entitled, Gen Z is entitled, and so on and so forth. We were so much better. We used to cross, rivers and go to school and study under lampposts and all of that. Is there a trust deficit? What is happening? How do we decode and bring together both generations?
Okay, in fact, all over the world, you find that we don't have business problems, we have people problems. And when we take care of our people problems, most of our business problems are automatically resolved. Especially when you're talking of the current generation, when you talk of trust. Deepshika, check out all over the world. The biggest challenge people are facing today is two things: trust and accountability. With the speed of change, the way things are happening today, products are getting obsolete the day they're getting launched. And knowledge is getting obsolete within 2 to 3 years. Check out medical and engineering graduates. By the time they get to the 4th and the 5th year, what they learned the first year became obsolete. So literally it has become a cliche, the only constant is change. Now, with this kind of a scenario, either we're in deep trouble or there's a great opportunity for those who are prepared. But the big question is, how do you prepare for the unknown? So I wrote an article which has been well received. I said, is there anything else in this world that is constant? And if there is, then let's master the constants only. So I wrote in that going into the future, the only people who will succeed in life are those who master 3 skills. 1, people skills. 2, persuasion skills. 3, prioritizing skills. Now, why do I say people skills? Go check out all over the world. We don't have business problems, we have people problems. And when we take care of our people problems, most of our business problems are automatically resolved. 1. Number 2, check out our parents, their parents, their parents, their parents. All over the world, we are hired for our skills, but we are fired for our behavior. Not only as an employee, but even as a vendor, we are fired for our behavior. And number 3, you notice, the lower a person is in life, 90% of the time goes in technical skills, less than 10% people skills. And higher you go up, it just reverses. Means what? Technology and technicians you can always buy with money. But the wealthiest person in the world must build and create relationships. Means technology and technicians you can always buy with money, which will keep changing. But these are things that never change. And number 2, why do I say persuasion skills? Persuasion means only 4 words. 1, it means ability to influence, negotiate, convince, and sell. That's called persuasion. And who doesn't need it? But there are people who say, I'm in IT, I'm into finance, I'm into operation. I don't need all these things. You know what? They're demonstrating basic ignorance of existence. Who doesn't need it? And then finally, we close it prioritizing skills. They have never changed and they will never change. Example, look at this. What a paradox. The amount of time-saving devices we have today, we've never had that many in history. And yet, we don't have what? We don't have time. Now, why don't we have time? You know why? Because somewhere we messed up our priorities. And I'm guilty myself. And when we mess up our priorities, we forget to distinguish between urgent and important. Now, interesting thing is, whenever we ignore what is important, it always converts into urgent. See, health is important, not urgent. Exercising every day is important, but not urgent. Now, if I have a crucial meeting tonight, I'm not able to exercise. It's not the end of the world. But if I ignore my health long enough, guess what happens? I will end up in the hospital. Same thing, in life, relationships are important, but they're not urgent. But you ignore relationship long enough, guess what happens? You start talking to your lawyers. See, you ignore what is important, it converts into urgent. And since we are talking of relationships, may I elaborate a little bit more? Especially today's current generation, they are so good with technology. They're excellent. They can spend hours and hours in front of the computer. They're very comfortable with their technology, but they're uncomfortable with people. And today's philosophy of relationship with the younger generation is love at first sight, divorce at first fight. Love at first sight and divorce at first fight. And sadly today, many times I go to business schools and they teach them, go network, join Chamber of Commerce, join this, join Rotary, join Line, do network. And you ask them, what are you doing? He said, I'm networking. Why are you networking? I'm building contacts. Why are you building contacts? And the answer is, someday they could be useful. He's a doctor, he's a lawyer, he's a cop, he's a this, he's a that, well-connected guy. Someday he could be useful. You know something? Usefulness goes, everything goes. You see, they teach them building contacts. They never teach them how to difference between building contacts versus building relationships. They don't understand that usefulness is a byproduct of relationship. I repeat, which sadly, not only this younger generation, even adults, they go to get-togethers, network, exchanging cards. They don't understand that. It is, people can smell selfishness. They can smell out right there. You see, I once, at Singapore, I came in from dinner. Somebody stopped me, said, Mr. Khera, you came from dinner? I said, yeah. You met some people tonight? I said, yes. And his first thing was, I hope you met some people who could be useful to you. I felt like giving a piece of my mind and something else. You see, his criteria of meeting people was what? Usefulness. Means what he could extract out of it, or them. Not understanding that usefulness is a byproduct of relationship. Meeting good people by itself is a treat by itself. People need to understand that. And sadly today, people miss out. And why am I stressing this little bit more, Deepshika, on the leadership or on the relationship part? Because you notice one thing, our biggest asset in life is not our bank balance. It is our relationship balance. People who have good relationships, what they can accomplish with one phone call, you cannot accomplish with $1 million. And sadly today, that is missing. That is missing. And they look at social media. That has become one of the biggest reasons of depression today. 90% people who are going through social media, they're suffering from depressions. They got thousands of friends, Facebook, not one real friend. You see, we've got watches, expensive watches, but no time. What a joke. What a joke. So we need to understand what reality is all about. Deepshika, I've asked people 3 questions. 1, are people issues impacting your relationship productivity? Guess what? The answer is always yes. 2, do you want to gain a competitive edge? And 3, do you want to build effective leaders at every level? Now, why do I say that? And every invariably answer to all 3 is yes. And that's really what our workshop is doing. See, any organization that is not building new leaders at every level is a dying organization. And in our program, we teach 2 major things. One is problem solving and the other is decision making. And tell me, what is leadership? It is problem solving and decision making. And good leaders live by the philosophy, prepare and prevent rather than repair and repent. Repair and prevent rather than repair and repent. This is really what we are talking about. And when we talk of steps of problem solving, we've had probably more than 250,000 people go through our programs in some of the top countries in the world. But this one little thing, it's a 6-step formula. Immediately people go out and they put it to practice right on the spot. It is not drawing charts, graphs, pies and all that stuff. I don't know how to do it, by the way. I don't know how to do it. But bottom line is that one major thing we make people realize in leadership, when people, by and large, people come into your office with what? Problems. And what do you keep giving them? Solutions. Is this management? This is called madness. See, the person you keep giving solutions to all day long, tell me, don't you think that person is capable of coming up with his own solution? Why do I say that they are capable? Do you know, every day after 5 o'clock, they make life and death decisions for their own family every day after 5. Don't they do it? Every day. But then why don't they use their brain during daytime? You know why? Because when they come into your office, they leave their brain outside, and in the evening they collect the brain again and go back home, and all through the day they keep using your brain. And when they go back home, they're all fresh, ready to go for a party because they haven't used their brain, and you are exhausted. That's all. Is this called management? This is called madness. So I tell people in our program, I share with them, look, stop giving solutions. You see, a good teacher never does homework for the kids. A good parent never does homework for the kids. They teach them how to do better. A good leader never does work for the people. Always teach them how to do it better. So stop giving solutions. Start building new leaders at every level. This is the only way you can move forward up in life. And let me share with you, I've learned one thing. There is no such thing known as a neutral leader. Either they're good leaders or they're bad leaders. And good leaders actively guide and bad leaders actively misguide. And good leaders look to create more leaders. And bad leaders look to create followers. You know what? They're so insecure. So our program is talking about empower yourself and achieve more.
What are those 6 points for which I can look forward to in the workshop?
Deepshika, we always tell people, before I share with you anything, you need to complete this form, fill these 6 questions, and then I'll be happy to work with you. The first question is, write down, is it a problem or an inconvenience? Why is that important? Because you find 9 out of 10 times, what is it? It is inconvenience, not a problem. But they don't even care to distinguish between inconvenience and a problem. And if they do, chances are they can handle the inconvenience by themselves, provided they distinguish between the two. Now, the second thing is, an inconvenience not addressed long enough can convert into a problem too. But you need to make them use their head. Decide, is it a problem or an inconvenience? 1. And number 2, if it is a problem, please write down the problem. Now, why is it important to write down the problem? You notice when we were kids in school, our teachers taught us that 90% of the solution lies in properly identifying the problem. See, when you write down the problem, it crystallizes it. And now you know what the real problem is, rather than what you think you know what the problem is, and they could be totally two different things. So one, you crystallize. And number three, write down the possible causes to the problem. You know, the keyword here is possible. I can elaborate, it'll take me a long time. But the keyword, write down the possible causes. And four, write down the possible solutions. Now let me explain to you why is the word possible important. See, the word possible gives them the permission to make a mistake. It's a possibility. It's not a conclusion or a decision. So if they write wrong, they don't feel threatened, you won't fire them. But write down possible causes to the problem, possible solutions to the problem. And then 5, what solution do you recommend? Keyword here is recommend. I'll come back to that because this needs elaboration. It is a recommendation, not a conclusion or a decision. So if they recommend wrong, there is no damage. There is no damage. And lastly, why do you recommend this one? Why do you recommend this one? Now you notice one thing, when people go through this problem solving formula, what will happen? By putting this in place, you have created a system in your organization of building new leaders at every level by teaching them the art of decision making in a controlled environment. This one sentence is very crucial. See, by putting this system in place, you have created a system of building new leaders at every level by teaching them the art of decision making in a controlled environment. This is crucial. Now, this is only one side I shared with you. There are so many areas that people walk in. Look, these are practical things. See, this is not theories and fish bone and this bone and that bone. They have multiple theories. I don't even understand myself. I'm not that educated. But bottom line is, you go out, you put into practice, and you see life change.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thanks a ton, sir, for that. I think it was a wonderful, wonderful conversation. Lots that I myself got to learn. We look forward to seeing these nuggets come into reality in Singapore first and then in London. So thank you so much for the conversation, sir.
Thanks,
It was a pleasure.
Thanks.
And look forward to seeing you again very soon.
Sure.